Hello nerds and nerdettes, welcome back to the channel once again where we have a new video for you all to watch. We are entering into a new month, which is July 2024, which means we will be going over my top 10 most anticipated releases during the month of July 2024. This is going to be a very heavy and exciting month. It's going to hit my wallet personally extremely hard, probably a lot of your wallets as well. But that's kind of what this list is for, is to go over some of the titles that you want to look out for. Maybe you're not planning on picking up all of them or not, but here's some that you may want to focus on, especially if your taste in comic books, manga, whatever it may be, is very similar to mine. So let's go ahead and jump into the list, starting with, of course, number 10. Coming in at number 10 is the Batman and Robin Adventures Omnibus. We do have a cover price of $75 and a release date of July 9th, 2024. Some of these prices and release dates are subject to change. I don't know if there's going to be delays or changes in any prices or anything along those lines. This is not coming directly from the publishers, just where I could get information from online. So this is a companion omnibus to the recently released Batman Adventures omnibus, and they did great with the design of this omnibus. It looks almost identical to the Batman Adventures omnibus, and they will look great on the shelf side by side. This is also really good material, really in the same vein, on the same vibe as that Batman Adventures omnibus. So if you did enjoy the material and the stories throughout that, kind of the episodic-like storytelling nature of that omnibus, then this is a great one to pick up if you're a fan of that type of storytelling. We do have 840 pages, which is why we have that $75 cover price. It's not in the 1,000 pages. It's not going to be a real thickie, but it is pretty much a companion omnibus to that Batman adventure. So if you want to continue that line or continue reading that type of material, this is where you want to go. This is what you want to pick up. This is also great for fans of the Batman animated series, because this is a lot of those stories that were adapted or are meant to resemble the stories from the show itself. So this is another one for you to pick up as well if you're a fan of the Batman cartoon. But great stuff here. Very excited to get it. Excited to get it on the shelf next to my Batman Adventures omnibus, because they really do. They showed some pictures and they look great side by side. Same font, same spine, similar cover, all around absolutely beautiful, and that's exactly why it's at number 10. Next up at number 9 is Wonder Woman by Tom King, Volume 1, Outlaw. The only reason this is so low on the list is because this is actually getting a paperback treatment, which stinks. It seems like it's nothing is really deciding what gets a hardcover or a paperback at DC, and I wish this run would get some hardcover, standard size hardcovers to collect this awesome run on Wonder Woman that Tom King is doing. But we do have a cover price of $19.99 and a release date of July 2nd, 2024. Obviously this is a volume 1, so not any crazy price tags or page count, because this has 164 pages, and it does collect the first part of that story arc there that Tom King is telling. It does also have 2 covers from what I hear. I'm probably going to go with the first cover, the cover of issue 1. Absolutely just beautiful, beautiful cover. Beautiful art throughout. This does collect 6 issues though, Wonder Woman issue 1 through 6 by, like I said, Tom King. So really great run. I was able to read the first issue, and then I read some other issues online. It seems like a very fresh take on Wonder Woman, and I feel like Tom King really has the voice for Wonder Woman down. But there is some mystery and a lot of action also. So if you think a mystery title can't have action, check this one out. But there's a lot of mystery around the story and what's taking place. I don't want to give away too much, but it's a lot of framing of Wonder Woman and the Amazons, and what kind of took place to lead up to that, and how Wonder Woman is going to be reacting. This is during the new era at DC. This was a Wonder Woman #1, so this is her new ongoing that they introduced after the new DCU kind of restart of comic books and titles at DC Comics. So overall, though, from what I have read, it is great stuff. Sorry if I don't pronounce this correctly, but Daniel St. Pierre, his art is breathtaking. I'm so serious, guys, when it comes to his art. It is absolutely beautiful. It is stunning. It is comic booky. There's a lot of movement. Wonder Woman is beautiful yet powerful. I mean, absolutely a great title, and one of those that you should be keeping an eye on, and that's why it's also at number 9. And I wish it was lower in the list or higher on the list, but because it's a paperback, and I don't really like paperbacks personally. Now, you know, mileage may vary depending on the reader, but that's why it's at number 9. Coming in at number 8, which is not the only time that the Star Wars mythos is going to appear on this list, but it is Star Wars Legends Tales of the Jedi Omnibus Volume 1. This has a release date of July 30th, 2024, a cover price of $150, and then we also do have a page count of 1,328 pages, so it is a very large book. This is kind of going to be the Jedi story before the Old Republic. A lot of this material I haven't even read. This is Legends material, so this is the Star Wars mythos being expanded upon over at Dark Horse, and now obviously Marvel is publishing that material. So if you are a fan of Legends omnibuses or the Legends storyline, this is more of that material. It's not in canon now, but it is still some stellar stuff. A lot of the Legends material is some of my favorite Star Wars stuff. So I definitely recommend you reading it, even if you want to just follow the canon material, because there is some really cool stuff that gets expanded, but not technically expanded throughout these omnibuses. And some of the material that we have gotten from Legends has been adapted into canon storylines, just changed ever so slightly. So some of this Legend stuff does still hold up in some regard when it comes to it canonically, but when it comes to the story itself, it really is a lot of good stuff. I haven't read a lot of the material in here. I have read a handful of issues, but this does flesh out a lot of the early years and early existence of the Jedi, which is really awesome to be explored and be told about. So even though it's a Legends Omni, and I know that can make or break a Star Wars fan collecting it or not, I still think the material that is in this is 100% worth checking out. And honestly, the only reason it's this low on the list is because there's another Star Wars Legends Omnibus that I'm more excited about, so that's why it's here, but I still recommend you guys checking it out if you are a Star Wars fan. Coming in at number 7, which may be blasphemous to some of you all watching, is Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky, the Omnibus Volume 1. I do love this run, guys. I know it's a little bit lower on the list, but 7-1 at this point was really, really hard for me to do. So many great titles coming out this month, and you can take the listing up at this point worth a grain of salt, because everything from this point on is top-notch stuff, absolutely incredible. But we do have a release date of July 23rd, 2024, and a cover price of $100. This omnibus does have a page count of 704 pages, but it is a volume 1, like I said, so we're going to get a secondary volume to wrap up the run. This is the series that Devil's Reign takes place in. I think that's going to be double dip collected in the second omnibus, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong down below. But this is such an incredible run. You see Matt Murdock in yet another kind of familiar situation, but it's done a lot differently. You see Elektra play another role throughout this run as well. This is the run that I feel like really put Chip Zdarsky on the map, at least to the point where DC felt comfortable giving him the keys to Batman, their most profitable character. This really showed Chip Zdarsky's muscles as a writer, and specifically writing a darker character, which is really funny because he's a very lighthearted guy if you watch any of his interviews, but writing dark characters is really what he's good at, and he knocks it out of the park with this specific run here. But this is going to collect Daredevil 2019, that run 1 through 30, and the Daredevil Annual number 1, which was in 2020. So you are getting a decent amount of issues there. It is on the lower side when it comes to the page count, but like I said, you are going to get that secondary volume, and sometimes it's worth it just splitting it up into 2 volumes rather than having a massive tome of a book to wrap up a run in. So overall, this is a Daredevil run you want to pick up, you want to read. It doesn't have to be the omnibus, obviously, but this is a very, very impactful run for Matt Murdock, Daredevil, especially when you get to the later half, and a lot of this is kind of explored even deeper, and the faith of Daredevil is tested, and you have the tie-in issues with Jason Aaron's Punisher, and a lot of that story being explained upon and taking place during this run also. So hopefully we do get a Jason Aaron Punisher Omni that at least collects his little portion of his story there, or at least a hardcover or something, just so we can get the other side of the story during that portion of the story. But still, this is an omnibus you're going to want to watch out for. This is Daredevil back to basics in a lot of ways, and if you're a Daredevil fan, then this is going to be a run that you're going to truly enjoy. Coming in at number 6 is Firepower Book 2. This is those larger hardcover deluxe editions. This is by Robert Kirkman and Chris Samney, the incredible artist that he is and the incredible writer that Robert Kirkman is. We do have a release date of July 31st, which is right there at the end of the month. So this is going to be one of the final titles released during this month. We do have a cover price of $49.99 and a page count of 464 pages. This is wrapping up the title of Firepower, which is a very similar title to almost Iron Fist. It's a love letter to old school classical like kung fu movies. There's some manga inspiration in there when it comes to the firepower itself, or the fireball effects that take place during this entire run. Even some Street Fighter elements that I see when reading this also. So definitely a great title for not only new readers, because it's 2 volumes and you're done with it, but also for fans of manga, fans of video games, because there's a lot of those elements taking place throughout this story also. But this is going to collect 13 through 30, where the first volume obviously collected 1 through 30. I think I'm missing an issue there. I think there was a prologue issue collected in the first volume, but a 2-volume set to wrap up this 30-issue epic, kung fu epic. Such great stuff, and Chris Samney on art is so fitting, so beautiful. The colors are vibrant throughout this run as well. The choreography, the paneling, and even the storytelling, it's nice and light-hearted. I don't feel like Robert Kirkman's taking it too seriously, but it also has some dark and fun elements that he likes to explore during this particular title also. But still, great read. If you liked that first volume, pick this one up. I honestly think the first volume performs a little bit better than the stuff that's collected in this. That's the real brunt and heart of the run, in my opinion. But still, to finish out the story, see what happens, this is where you got to go, and this is what you have to pick up. But that's exactly why it's at number 6. It's yet another hardcover that I am super excited to get into the library. I loved the first volume, absolutely loved it. So it's time to jump into book 2. And that's why it's at number 6. But now we can go ahead and jump into the top 5 and find out what I'm mostly excited for this month. And coming in at number 5 is, this is a longer title, Justice League versus Godzilla versus King Kong. We do have a release date of July 9th, a cover price of $29.99. So it is on the expensive side for what you're getting here. And then you do have a page count of 264 pages. If you're ever curious what would happen if the Justice League existed in a world where Godzilla and King Kong are beating the crap out of each other, here's the story for you. It's super far-fetched. It's incredibly over the top. You get a lot of shine on some of those B and C list characters. And then also on top of that, the art throughout here is absolutely stellar. You have great covers, I believe, by Dan Mora. But this is also a little bit of a letdown for me, because I wish that the cover for this hardcover had the sound aspect of when you open up the cover and you could hear Godzilla or King Kong roar. That was actually included in the single issues, but I obviously know we're not going to get it here because it would be a lot more expensive for us, but I would pay that money for sure. But this is 100% on my radar. I've said before on the channel, I am a King Kong fan and a Godzilla fan. I love the old school movies. I love the new movies. The newest King Kong versus Godzilla movie that came out was an absolute blockbuster for me as a viewer. So awesome. Everything I wanted from a kaiju style of movie. But in this story, you get your kaijus, but you also get your superheroes. So it's like a dream made in heaven for this reader here. So definitely on my radar, 100% worthy of being in my top 5, and also worthy for you all to check out. And coming in at number 4 is a massive, massive drop. This is going to be the Uncanny X-Force by Rick Remender omnibus reprint. Finally, so many of us have been searching for this book, and they're finally reprinting it. This does have a cover price of $125, a release date of July 30th, 2024, and then we have a page count of 928 pages, so just shy of that 1,000-page mark. So still a decently sized book here. This is Rick Remender doing his Rick Remender goodness, if you're a fan of his writing style, but on X-Men characters. This is a darker, bloodthirsty X-Men team, or X-Team, that has Psylocke, it has X-Men, X-23, Deadpool, Phantom X, a lot of the more violent characters of the X-Men lore. And then you also have incredible art by Jerome Opeña, Assad Ribic as well. So you have those almost painted-like, realistic-looking illustrations and panels throughout this entire run. Absolutely stellar art during the entire run itself. And then you also have Rick Remender really fleshing out the mindset and the internal workings of the team throughout this entire run. And you really get to see cool sides of characters that we know and love, like Archangel or Wolverine or Psylocke, or maybe characters we don't know as much, like Phantom X or Deadpool if you're not a Deadpool reader. So really fleshing out a lot of the cool and fan favorite characters, but also diving into some of the lesser known characters. But the violence is here, the exploration of mindset, morality, everything like that is here that Rick Remender really likes to dive into. But it's on an X title with characters that we know and love, maybe some characters we know about but don't love yet, and he will make you love these characters. This is a run to 100% read in any format. At least keep an eye on, check out, because it's a fan favorite, and it's a fan favorite for a reason, because it's that good, and that's exactly why it's this high on the list. And I am extremely, extremely excited that we are getting a reprint, and me and you will be able to get our hands on it finally. And entering into the top 3, and coming up first at number 3, is Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. It's getting the deluxe edition treatment finally. I see a absolute in this title's future, so if maybe you want to wait for an absolute, then you can. You just might be waiting for a lot longer. But finally, at least a deluxe edition in a hardcover, beautiful format. We do have a release date of July 23rd, 2024. A cover price of $49.99, which is on the expensive side here, especially for a book that has 256 pages, but it is what it is. This is written by Tom King, and then you have illustrations by, I'm going to completely butcher this, Bilquis Evely. Correct me down below if that pronunciation was horrible, which it was. Spoiler alert. But we get to see Supergirl go on her own adventures here, really fleshing out her character, and you really get to see her not leaning on her cousin Superman during this particular story. A lot of the outcome and the saving of the day is in her hands as a character, and you really get to see the emotional side of Supergirl that really lies beneath the surface and is what makes her so different from Superman, that seems to always make the right choice, always keep a calm, collected head. Supergirl is the opposite of that, and you get to have that explored during this particular run. Tom King is obviously a writer that we all know and love. Well, maybe some of us in the community not loving as much, but he absolutely killed it on this particular story here. It collects all of the story throughout this deluxe edition. You don't need any prior reading or post-reading. You just need this deluxe edition, and then at least know who Supergirl is, which I think most of us probably do. But all the other characters that are explored during this are brand new, fresh characters that you don't need to know about going into the story. But this is one that you're going to want to keep an eye on. I do smell an absolute in its future, but until then, if you want it in a nicer format than a trade paperback, then the deluxe edition is your next best choice, but that does wrap up at number 3. And coming in at number 2 is another Star Wars Legends omnibus, and that is Star Wars Legends The New Republic Omnibus Volume 2. This is finally that Volume 2 coming out that we all wanted so badly. This has a release date of July 2nd and a cover price of $150. Marvel's finally moving up to from $125 to $150, it seems. And then we do have a page count of 1,312 pages, so you at least get a lot of content throughout this specific omnibus. This is the Volume 2 of the New Republic line at Star Wars Legends. This is all stuff written at Dark Horse once again, but this collects the story that a lot of us are the most excited about, or have been the most excited about when it comes to the Star Wars Legends stuff, which is the Dark Empire trilogy. And that, for lack of a better way of describing it, was the story post Episode 6 before The Force Awakening or anything else. This was the continuation of what was taking place with Luke, Han, and Leia. This is literally the Star Wars 7, 8, and 9 before 7, 8, and 9 actually came out, which is so awesome. This is the 7, 8, and 9 that all of us know and love, and where it really kicks it up a notch. There's a lot of old school aspects that were established in episodes 1, 2, and 3, like cloning and force manifestation and things like that, that get further explored during this particular story. And you really get to see the trials and tribulations that Luke is going through now as the Grand Jedi Master of the Star Wars world, and trying to reestablish the Jedi Academy and Jedis really as a whole, and where the family, the Skywalker family, goes after Episode 6. So, and you also get to see the expansion of that family as well. Who knows? We will have to read and find out, but still great stuff here. This was my first exposure to the Star Wars Legends world. I remember reading comics and not knowing that Star Wars had comics, and then I delved into the Dark Empire trilogy before I dove into anything and fell in love. And that's why I like Star Wars Legends material so much, is because of what's collected in this book. So this is a no-brainer for me. I think this is a no-brainer for anybody that likes the Star Wars Legends material, because this is as good as it gets. This is the climax of that Legends material, in my opinion at least, and this collects all of the stuff that is some of the must-read Star Wars Legends material. So that's exactly why it's at number 2. It's finally out. It's been delayed, I feel like, a million times. Has 2 of the best covers in the Star Wars Legends game when it comes to the omnibuses, and it is 100% worth the read. If you're a Star Wars fan, whether it's canon or not, check this one out. Coming in at number 1, which is probably not a surprise to any of you that do watch the channel, and that is Captain America by Mark Gruenwald, Omnibus Volume 1. This is going to be a Volume 1 of probably many. I'm thinking around like 5 volumes. If you've mapped it out before, leave a comment down below so I can prepare my wallet for how many volumes this run is going to be, because it is a very lengthy run on the character of Captain America. But this does have a release date of July 16th, a cover price of $150. There's Marvel again showing that they are moving up from $125 to $150. And then we do have a page count of 1,336 pages. Like I said, this is a lengthy run on Captain America, but this is also the run on Captain America. Usually when people recommend a good starting point or a must-read Captain America run, you're going to get Ed Brubaker's run, or you're going to get Mark Gruenwald's. Neither are my favorite run on Captain America, which I've said before is Mark Waid's run, but this run here by Mark Gruenwald is a close second for sure. Some of the best covers of any Captain America comic come from this particular run. Even the run, or the cover for the omnibus, is just chef's kiss, absolutely beautiful. But this is going to be the run where a lot of the personality traits and character traits of Captain America were first established. A a lot of his issues with the government, a lot of his rogues gallery and villains that he goes up against. All of those were really established or at least fleshed out during this massively long run. And it is 100% reading if you are a Captain America fan, because this is where a lot of his history takes place. A lot of the most important stories or most known stories like Cap Wolf or US Agent, just to name a few. So this is the run where you're going to want to really get the foundation of Captain America and where the foundation is just established in general. This is also a run that most people reference to when it comes to things that are still popping up in modern day runs. This is kind of where a lot of those elements that we saw from Ed Brubaker, that we saw from Mark Waid, that we're seeing from J. Michael Straczynski even now popping up, is a lot of those seeds were planted during this particular run, because this is really the Cap run when it comes to its historical impact, the impact it had on the character and his mythos and his world and character gallery. This is that run that really establishes everything and is the foundation of every Captain America run moving forward to now the modern day. So definitely a read for a Captain America fan. Definitely a great starting point if you want to get into Captain America. This is the starting point that I would recommend, even over the Jack Kirby stuff. This is what I would recommend as the Captain America starting point, where the character of Cap as we know him today was first established. So really good stuff. There is some dated writing and dated comic books throughout this, but I feel like a lot of this content does still hold up today, and a modern reader would still be able to read it and enjoy it. So that's why it's still on the list. It's one that I'm going to pick up and definitely recommend to you all. But this is the Captain America run, and I am a huge Captain America fan. He is my favorite superhero, so that is why he's on the list, and that's why he's at number one, or this book is at number one, and I'm so excited to finally get it into the library. But that does wrap up today's list. Thank you all so much for watching. Once again, I truly appreciate those of you that are hanging out in the channel after the hiatus and still checking out my content and videos. It really is humbling to see everybody like Ben or Gary that are, or Havoc, that are still hanging around, being part of the community, watching every video, commenting, everything like that. So thank you to each and every one of you guys, all of those day one nerds and nerdettes. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. But if you are new to the channel and you do want to join the Illuminerdy community, which still is my favorite place on the internet, you can hit that subscribe button to join the community. If you could also do me a favor and hit that thumbs up icon, it really goes a long way for us here on the channel. And also, if you don't want to miss any content that I do put out on the channel, hit that little bell icon. That way you can get notified anytime I put out any other content, whether it's another full-length video or some of the fancy smancy shorts that I try to produce and put out also. But once again, thank you all for watching. I appreciate you all tuning in, being a part of this community, and of course, stay nerdy.